very, very strong on red side. There's a Zyra, so I want to see if it's Kha'Zix next, and then first pick Malzahar.
All right, first pick Malzahar. If all goes to plan, Giants still likely have to ban away the Rengar and the LeBlanc. They're becoming those, dare we say it's standard red side bans.
I think it's very safe to say they're standard. Sometimes there's a curveball here and there, like you give the enemy Rengar twice and lose, and you kind of wonder what went wrong.
Why did we do that?
Yeah, so Rengar's still up here. It is funny enough the pick that people have left open. Now, Fnatic, are you going for the Kha'Zix ban? There we go. So good. Malzahar first pick then.
All right.
For Jessis.
What is the response then from Giants?
80 carry plus preferred jungler, most likely.
There's a discussion that we had going into week 1 around how these phase 1 trends seem to be holding true and like priorities. 80 carry and support is feeling like it is the primary focus.
Yeah.
As we see more and more drafts, more and more games.
So, give me Malzahar here, because the other first pick options are actually the 3 Fnatic is banned. Funny enough. And then preferred AD carry for Giants, and if they have a jungler they feel is above the others. But I feel like when Rengar and Kha'Zix are gone, that jungle pool is very even. And it very much depends on each individual jungler. Do you prefer Lee Sin, Elise, Rek'Sai, Ivern for some of the junglers we have seen? But I think you go your preferred AD carry here, and then you just take preferred jungler as well. They go with Shen instead, which is interesting very early, because Shen gets countered really hard by something like Rumble. And Fnatic can still lock that in the next rotation and just avoid it getting banned. We got the AD carry against 50%.
Yeah, there we go. I'll accept that, Deficio, because you could still be right on the next pick.
Funny enough, you match
pending changes. So yeah, Varus definitely Hiku's preferred ADC of choice. That's the 3rd time. This will be the 4th time in the splits.
Honestly,
Ashe plus...
I go Ashe Rumble here. Just to avoid Rumble getting banned in the next phase and play that against Shen, because Shen is not a flex pick. I'm sure you can play him in other roles, but it's not something we see like at all. There was a brief moment of Shen support. Been gone for quite a while.
Yes.
Go with Jhin instead. Still fine. It's just either Jhin or Ashe is what you're aiming for. You can still log a jungler, and if they don't pick a jungler, then you pinch jungle. If they don't pick a support, then you pinch support. Definitely still options for Fnatic. I like Rumble here though, but that's just me.
And now we get some insight into what Fnatic prioritize. Last week they prioritized a Lee Sin early, over and over and over. They prioritized Rek'Sai again. We are starting to see a trend here in terms of, you know, their jungle above other roles.
My only problem is just I don't feel like Rek'Sai is far enough above the other junglers available to warrant you picking it over other priority picks. But Giants obviously in this situation here can go with Lulu support, which is the hard counter to Malzahar, because you can one-shot the Void Links. And now Fnatic will just pinch jungle pool, most likely. And Giants can then pinch top lane pool if they want to like try and get a better matchup. And I think you ban Rumble if you're Giants, just to avoid that matchup against the Shen.
Well, taking a look through 2016 match history, Soaz has no games on that Rumble last year, at least.
But even also with Rek'Sai pick to add more physical damage, it sets up for that AP top laner. Cannon top can be another one if they want to play that against Shen.
Build AP, we keep seeing AD builds on top lane
it's
cannons.
That mixed build because you deal some AP damage on your hits. We talked about pinching jungle. It is exactly what Fnatic is doing. Nocturne, not the most traditional ban, but clearly something they respect. The Giants must have been practicing. Still sticking to my Rumble ban here, and I think if they don't, then Fnatic should definitely play it top.
All right, so Rumble is the focus here, if we can. And I want to keep my eyes on Reckless's Jhin. It's been banned all games up to this one. It was only free once, it was counter-picked, and it's going to be a Gangplank instead.
It is one of their other counters to Shen, because you can
farm away,
match global a little bit. I don't think Poppy then is a necessary ban if you're like trying to get rid of picks really good against Shen. Obviously Poppy from range can interrupt his ulti, but that's definitely a lane you can take. It's probably just you get outscaled as the Shen here, but oftentimes when you have this top lane, you try and snowball early game very hard. Fnatic didn't ban anything, something we've seen before.
We're seeing more and more frequently, actually, as things go on. Okay, we touched a lot on the top lane as Rumble's obviously the focus. What about mid lane champion pool? Still a fair amount available. Orianna, Ryze,
we have
something we've seen a lot. Syndra's still up as well.
Yeah, which was first picked by Fnatic in the second pick phase last time. There's still the chance of leaving that for last pick because it's your jungler otherwise. And last picking jungle rarely have any value, so it is their The Graves jungle coming in, a pick we do not see very often in this meta. And I keep talking about Rumble, and I really want to see it because I think it's really strong against Shen.
All right, 25 seconds.
Whatever, that's fine too. Boring.
So you just want the counter, not the safe scaling
I want
tank.
some action. And Rumble can win the lane and be insane in the mid game, but Maokai just outscales the Shen, and it's safe. And to be fair, I actually said, give me more traditional comp from Fnatic. The Maokai obviously is the most traditional top laner there is, so I can't really complain, can I?
Well, you are complaining, so unfortunately I do have to call you out in that one.
That is very true.
But it is a traditional comp, there is scaling, there is a lot of AP damage to come from both the Syndra and eventually the Malzahar. That will be playing out. Do you run Katarina into what is a fair amount of CC? Silence from Malzahar, Nethergrass? Well, the answer will be no, because Knight is going to default to that safe Corki once again. No ganking jungler with this Graves. So if we have traditional on Fnatic side, do we once again have a poke comp on Giant side?
We do. We do. I mean, once again, a jungler who just wants to join that poke group as well with the Graves. Much lower range, sadly for him, but does deal more burst damage with it. But the fact that there's no ganking jungler, as you highlighted, and I think, I mean, obviously Graves can gank, especially when he has CC in the lane, to set it up, which he does have top lane. But Rek'Sai is the more traditional ganker, and that makes it very difficult for Knight again in mid, because he can't really do anything when the enemy jungler can set up a gank so easy against him. A flash knock up into a stun from Syndra, and Corki pre-6 is dead.
Yes, but Caps needs to set that up.
He did, on his own. He won that mid lane pretty hard.
But that's the point. He was so good at winning the mid lane, there was no opportunity for Amazing.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know what I mean? There
but
is...
shouldn't Amazing then have gone to a different lane?
There we go, I agree. But now we're talking a different subject, aren't we?
All right, that's fair.
So Caps can look to improve his synergy with Amazing if he holds back some of the aggression. Amazing can develop his synergy elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, I prefer that one, and Caps should just keep winning mid lane and take tower.
Fair enough. Keep winning mid lane, take tower. We'll see if he can. Of course, Caps was quite clearly the victor in the pre-6 matchup in the previous game. It didn't matter because both of his side lanes crumbled under pressure from Memento's Kha'Zix. Will this game be a 2-0 in favor of Giants? Jump on Twitter and log your votes at LoL eSports, hashtag GIA win or hashtag FNC win. I hope not, because I want a game 3 to Fisher.
Do you?
Yes, I absolutely want a game 3.
First game was really fun. I think second game is going to deliver as well, even though I didn't get all the picks I wanted to see. No. But hey, that's how it is.
I'm so tired of hearing about Rumble from you right now, so save it until later.
But what about Rumble, mate? If they banned Malcolm instead of Poppy, which is useless here anyway, it would have been Rumble. I'm telling you, it would have been Rumble.
It would have been. But it wasn't. Hindsight is 2020, and you need to stop it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is game 2 between Caps and Knight, Fnatic and Giants. Will Fnatic lose another best of 3? That is the question on the tip of my tongue. Well, that's a lie, because I've already delivered it.
Exactly. But we don't care, Trevor. It's just about talking. It's not about what we actually say. That's the key thing. People just want to hear something.
All right. I'll give them a lot to hear as we load up onto the game. Last game, Reckless and Jezzes were able to win that pressure play in the bottom, but it didn't result in an early tower, which is something that Giants were problems for Giants in week 1. What are you expecting from his Jhin this time around? It's been banned so many times.
Yeah, I mean, I am obviously expecting the sickest plays in the world, because otherwise, why would you ban it against him? But that being said, I think Jhin, it is also very much up to your team to actually set up the Jhin to be successful, so it's going to be a rest of Fnatic. We've seen this invade from the Unicorns of Love, where you walk in with jungle top lane and you hit the blast cone, you fly over and you smite the blue buff. They didn't really dare do it, even though they actually had a ward on it. They were like, nah, that didn't work for Unicorns, and they decided not to go with the play. And it actually does mean Memento gets a much slower start, because not only is he late to the red buff, he also doesn't get a leash from Shen, and that can cost him some valuable seconds.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I mean, Knight, why are you even taking that trade right
Dark
there?
Sphere and Thunderlords. Knight gets chunked down. Got that Corrupting Potion to try heal him off just a little. Which
technically is like the small sustain advantage, but the other guy then has more HP because of Adorn's Ring and more AP. Anyway, bottom lane, Lulu against Malzahar. It is because when a Voidling gets spawned, you one-shot it with your Pixie. That means Malzahar struggles to get enough poke damage down, and it becomes like a 2v1 trade against the enemy AD carry with Lulu and Varus against just Reckless. So this should be a lane in favor of Giants, but last time I felt like they could have done much more in lane as well, and they actually didn't.
This time around, a lot of utility to bring outside of the lane. On the assumption they don't fall too low. The one thing I do like about this Jhin pick against what is a fairly heavy poke composition from Giants, if Amazing and Soaz can get into position, there's a lot of damage from that curtain call that can help, you know, dissuade an extended siege.
And we see so many teams use the Jhin ulti as some sort of like soft engage. Like you charge up the ulti to force the enemy to start backing away, and when you charge it up, you also have the TP flanks coming in.
Look at that! Caps aggressively trading forward.
Thanks for caring about my point, Trevor.
I did hear it, and you are correct.
But you didn't care.
Of course I did, Deficio. Start, it's soft engage, force the team back.
This is how the problems start in the relationship.
It
You don't listen.
Soaz and Amazing to set up.
Yes. And then they can flank in and they can kill everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you were listening.
Yes, I listened to every word you say, Deficio. It's like gold to my ears.
Which is a weird thing for your ears.
All right, Deficio, EQ takes a lot of damage. Full combination on that bouncing grenade, silence, nether grasp. Sorry, not nether grasp, malefic visions. And Hiku and Huston, they're being pushed back despite having that sort of Malzahar counter. But look at Amazing, trying to set something up. He went for the counter jungle.
But now it's not really the game to go top lane against the tanks here, unless you do it very early. Not saying he was obviously going for the gank, he obviously was trying to take away a camp. So we want to track what Amazing is doing early on. Graves is still a jungler who prefers to farm for 6 and just actually farm for as long as he can in the early to mid game, because Graves still has very good late game team fighting. Like he becomes that secondary carry basically.
To kill as well.
Yeah, he becomes fairly beefy as well. But for now, he is bot lane. It is getting pushed in. Nothing is happening.
Frustrating lane to gank. Now, Memento versus Amazing in game 1. The differences couldn't have been bigger. You know, Amazing really fell behind. Memento had a phenomenal game. You can see in the stats and the impact. You've touched on what Memento can do later and how Amazing shouldn't necessarily focus tanks. So where is Amazing looking? Dive down bottom, or Memento's going to get there first?
You have the slow landing from Hustlin until on the Fnatic bottom lane. He's going in here.
All right, there's a little bit of a tag. Glitterlance comes up, flash away. That's the slow onto Reckless from the Glitterlance. Memento's being chunked out. He's looted. The Voidlings, a dash and a flash to safety. Memento stays alive. The trap not gonna pop in time. And Jesus and Reckless, they win the trade. Scatter the weak onto Knight. He's been stunned. Holds on to his exhaust. Ghost was used by Caps as well.
Yeah, good trade in mid from Knight. Ganked down bottom lane. The problem was they didn't get an instant hit on the Voidling, so they started stacking up, and suddenly Memento couldn't tank so much damage. Fnatic actually ended up using 3 summoners. Use 3 on the side of Giants, actually 4 because Memento flashed as well. So all in all, advantage for Fnatic despite Memento being the one to gank.
All right, so well played by Reckless and Jesus.
Oh, you gotta kill that instant Voidling.
Power
it's hard.
That Malzahar silence and the damage from those
It's the damage, man. Like, Malzahar is so fun to play when you face someone who wants to, like, attack you, who wants to move forward in the lane, try and gank you, or just, like, 2v2 trade with you. And you get that first Voidling that becomes a second one, a third one, and it just stacks up real quick.
And that allows Fnatic to survive. Okay, so no flashes on Reckless and Hustle in the bottom lane. There's opportunities if Memento or Amazing want to show their faces.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Reckless and Jesses are waiting for level 6, and then we will most likely see Amazing try and gank it. Before that, mid lane is still an opening. Like, you have CC from both the jungler and mid laner. The Rek'Sai can't really go top lane at this point, so it should be the 2 lanes towards the bottom side of the map that we are seeing a gank in.
Now that's a good ward from Fnatic. Amazing pushed in fairly deep. You can see there's a control ward where Amazing is right now.
Spotting Knight as well.
I like what Amazing is doing this game around. Finding information for Fnatic to make use of, and this is the 2nd or the 3rd camp that he's also denied and stolen away. So a much better opening to the game.
And sadly for HQ here, he didn't get serrated Dirk on the first back. It does set him back quite a bit because obviously it doesn't get any lethality. On this, just pure AD versus another pure AD stacking, but one who gets more AD. So obviously a poor trade in terms of items, but that is some of the risk when you blow the summoners on the gank. You don't get anything, and then you have to go back to base. Level 6 Malzahar is what we're waiting for. Jesus has flash. He saved it. HQ and Hustlin are easy targets if you want to gank. Sadly, for Fnatic, there's a Shen ulti.
Yes.
And that just always makes it complicated when you want to go for these plays. Even though Soaz can follow once he has TP back in a few minutes, it kind of stops you from playing aggressive in the bottom lane.
Well, nothing seems to stop Caps from playing aggressive. Gets another good combo on tonight, plus 12 CS.
Dash the wall, Memento.
All right, it's control ward down from Jesus, so he'll get some information.
He can still dash the Dragon Wall if he wants to move behind, if he doesn't expect it to be a ward. And he's actually doing that right now, so just dash over here.
All right, where's the vision for Fnatic? They won't be aware of this.
They won't, because they placed it in River.
Yeah.
Come on, Memento.
Hesitation from Memento. Playing it safe.
And the thing is, he actually knows Amazing is top side, because they saw Caps go in to pick up blue buff, so they know the jungler is not bottom side. They even have Shen ulti ready against no teleport. I really feel like that was a fairly easy setup for Giants.
And that's also something else we've seen this series. Flaxich with a TP advantage over Soaz. Soaz is very aggressively using it to get back to lane. Should keep track of those windows of opportunity for a team like Giants if they want to, you know, punish and push their lead even further.
So we see on our screen, Fnatic as an organization beating Giants. Fnatic has always been one of the best organizations and best teams in Europe, where Giants have rarely actually made playoffs.
I mean, last summer was really their sort of strongest showing.
You see this setup here. Here's Reckless, and
there's the flash engage on Hustlin. Stand United's coming down. That's a big shield. First blood picked up by Jesus.
Oh, a bit late ulti from Flaxis here, but we saw Soaz was reacting instantly. He knew Shen would ulti, and he TP'd down just to guarantee that kill. We highlighted the strong Malzahar ulti. Such an easy setup into a kill, and Amazing was there, and now they're actually going for more, but we don't want to look at it. We don't want to look at the tower.
Not just yet. Diving onto HQ, gets tagged by the curtain call. There's the Malefic Visions burning away. Flaxus has joined in with the teleports. A tunnel to safety from Amazing, and the collateral damage doesn't find a kill. That was a fantastic blast cone.
Tried to flash and actually hit it, so that Soaz couldn't take it, but Soaz was close enough to also fly out, even if it was the Shen who actually
still new. It's still new to Fisher.
It's still new, but
blast cone mechanics. It's the new season. Last year was barrel mechanics, or the year before rather. Now it's blast cone mechanics.
I preferred the barrel mechanics. Gave some bigger plays. This is obviously what we talked about. Not the biggest highlight ever. Flash Malzahar ulti. Actually wanted the HQ, but then got Hustlin instead. That's fine, you just want to kill, and then you want to take the tower. If you are a Fnatic, even see Caps moving down.
It's just well coordinated by Fnatic. Maybe overkill.
One of the slower replays.
Works out. What about the follow-up dive? If you were to grade this, aggressive, eager, or good?
Uncoordinated.
Okay.
Because Soaz flashes in, and no one actually follows instantly other than Reckless with the ulti. And then they follow after. You saw like Amazing flash in later. That was never gonna work, like ever.
It's so fun to watch though, isn't it? Meowkai blown away by a plant. That was fantastic. All right, so Fnatic, they get first blood in game 2. They've got and a big advantage in the mid lane. Plus 20 CS for Caps once again. The teleport that Soaz used to get down was equalized by Fnatic, so there's not even an advantage there, at least until Stand United comes up.
Yeah, and that's ready fairly soon, so Fnatic's a little bit on the clock here. They have ulti from Malzahar.
Oh no!
Gonna use it!
Dum 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 dum! Nethergrass, Hustlin's locked down! Amazing with a furious bite.
Yeah, that was the window. We highlighted Amazing putting focus on the bottom side because of Malzahar. No ulti from the Shen. Makes it very easy for him to pick up a kill. They need to get that really low tower down. Ah, he's fine.
Yeah, chain of corruption. I don't think Amazing is fine. Flash over the wall from Memento. Collateral damage and a piercing arrow.
Yeah, I was just baiting you.
Amazing donates a kill. Small facepalm. Scatter the weak. Tags on tonight. Unleashed power is available. Exhaust gets thrown down. That mitigates the damage. Knight is turning it around. Gatling cannon was firing up. And the Hex Drinker gets burned through, but it's Caps that loses the fight.
And here's Soaz.
All right, sapling toss.
Dun dun dun. He's out.
You should have meowed.
Meow.
Much better. We'll save that for the next time Soaz decides to engage.
That's a pretty good meow.
It was a very good one. It was very good.
Yeah.
It's Officio, 2,000 gold lead for Fnatic. An amazing, under threat of getting caught out again here. Reckless is waiting in the wings. It's Memento that gets tagged. The deadly flourish will be slowing Memento where he stands. And this is good for Fnatic. Stand United burned before a Dragon engage, before a dive, before something else.
And they already got that bot lane tower. That was very important to get even more gold. Now you need to send this insanely strong 2v2 lane with the BF sword in. Oh, Knight gets interrupted.
No ultimate for Caps, though. Throws out the force of will. Lot of damage. But this is going to allow more chip, more poke onto the tower.
And just push out bot lane now with Jhin, and then move in towards mid lane, and then take Dragon after, and then swap AD carry support to top lane once you've taken everything on the bottom side. A lot of damage on mid tower. Very, very good here.
It doesn't go down, though. Down to about 20%. Amazing is stealing away the red buff. The Brambleback has been killed while Fnatic are forced away. And, of course, Caps, along with Jez, as they back away to where they have numbers and safety. Back away to Amazing in case there was any chase. This is a much, much different early game for Fnatic.
Yeah, seems like they were not ready to actually commit to a Dragon, also because Caps took some damage in the mid lane. Now you just have to make the choice, you know. Do you want to push out mid, go for Dragon? Do you want to push out mid, go for top tower? Do you want the instant gold? Do you want the buff? And start like getting the next Dragon spawning so you can start stacking those because you're winning the early game. There's a lot of options here for Fnatic, and almost none of them are actually bad. It's like, do you want tower? Do you want Drake? Do you want cake? Whatever.
It helps when you're 3,000 gold up and you're not even 15
Always
minutes
makes
into
it
the
easier.
game.
Always makes it easier.
There's no stand United for Flaxish, but both teleports are available for Soaz and Flaxish. Looking at, you know, sort of advantages across the map. I mean, Morella Nomicon into Hex Drinker Sork Shoes for Knights. Feels like there's a little bit more of a burst advantage in the favor of Caps. Not enough tankiness yet.
No, and Giants can't safely start a Dragon here. I'm not really sure why they tried to pull it, because globals are even at this point, and Fnatic were pushing both lanes around the Dragon, so really actually dumb by Memento to pull it, because he's now out of position.
Yeah, completely out of position. Fnatic, they should just knock over this tower. Just the threatening alone from Caps' position allows tower number 2 to fall over, and Fnatic, this is what I was expecting in game 1. Flax is trying to defend the top outer tower. That's also being chunked down very, very low. And I look at the vision, control wards and deep vision being pushed further and further into the Giants' jungle.
And Fnatic decided to go with option number 1, which is to move to top side to try and secure that tower. Jess is appearing behind enemy lines, and he recalls. So Fnatic decided we're actually going to get that tower no matter what, so we don't have to commit everyone for it. Can still just push out mid again and surrender that Dragon. It's fine, you have 3 towers to 0. You don't care about Ocean Drake.
No, absolutely not. Locked down by the Nether Grasp. A lot of CC to follow, but Flash as well. That's just damage from the support. So Flaxish forced away. Flash Taunt's not going to be a risk, and it's Memento that's able to pick up Dragon number 1 for Giants.
And the towers, the outer turrets from Fnatic, have barely taken damage at this point. Bot lane will take some now, but they've really been winning this early game super, super hard, and they played very safe, honestly.
Yeah.
They only made plays when they knew that multiple members and some sort of advantage. This is a TP from Soaz. Amazing is on his way. Caps is roaming down.
All right, Valkyrie, quick draw. There's some flashes available. Soaz, over 2,000 HP. Uses the Vengeful Maelstrom to buy time. There's Stand United from Flaxish. There's a party on the bottom lane. Double stun for Caps. Double knockup from the Unburrow. Memento's the target. He gets dropped by the Unleashed Power. It's a trade of 1 for 1. Jungle for mid. Hustlers join the fight with the wild growth. Giants turn this around. Amazing tunnels to safety. Leaves Soaz to die. The rest of Fnatic, what can they do? Reckless is pushing up middle, and there's a teleport from Flaxish.
Yeah, good response here from Giants. Fnatic trying a very aggressive play, collapsing the bottom lane, but realized the Shen ulti obviously came in, so they couldn't really burst anyone down, and that allowed Giants to just send everyone to this bottom lane. They want more.
Oh, amazing. Sticking around, trying to defend the tower.
But now Fnatic is coming down. Giants, you gotta run.
Let's see if they can get away. Flash available for Jez's. Is going to lose the passive. And Giants are able to escape. Fnatic defend their tower. Very low HP, and this was that hyper-aggressive play to Fisher.
Yeah, just look at the minimap. Giants duo in the mid lane are moving already, while Fnatic's are actually staying in the mid lane. And this means now that Fnatic is not really bursting anyone down super quickly. It becomes a 3v3, where after that first kill on Memento, it's fairly slow. End up trading first, and a tank top lane and a tank jungler can't really do much more here. So that means Giants can send down everyone, defend, and then TP back. Always one of the nice things about Shen, is you can use TP defensively.
I mean, when does Fnatic run out of damage? With only Syndra and Jhin, and eventually Malz is going to scale up. Are there enough damage sources?
I think luckily for them, they are only against like one pure tank in Shen. So there will always be like enough damage to kill a squishy. Lulu's support will try and make it difficult though.
Yeah.
And I think it is a fair concern if you are a Fnatic when you run these double carry comps, but I think Malzah's damage needs to be respected. He adds a lot of extra damage, becomes like a secondary carry himself once he gets to the Andries, and that's where Fnatic will have enough damage again to burst one of these squishy targets, even through Lulu's sustain.
You're not very far away from that though. I have the Watcher, and there's Lucy Boots for Jezz's. Doesn't have the beginnings of any of those AP items, and as we're getting closer to 20 minutes, look, it's still a 5,000 gold lead. It is a 3 tower to 0 game. Fnatic are still monumentally ahead of Giants.
They are, but there's some key items we have to look for. We already see Hexdrinker on Knight. I actually want to see that on all their attack damage carries here on the side of Giants. Like Grave should get one. Even Devourers can actually get one later. If he would probably go QSS, which is fine, but if you consider the burst from Fnatic is coming through Magic mainly, and then just Reckless with the crit, Hexdrinker will have so much value on multiple members on Giants here, because it really is all about surviving. The ulti from Malzahn, the ulti from Syndra.
Luckily, a couple of exhausts are going to help out with that one. Chain of Corruption is spreading. Jesus gets knocked backwards. He's taken down. Fnatic overstepped. Memento with red buff. He's tagged up Reckless and blown him away with collateral damage. 2 for 0 Giants.
It's actually insane how much Fnatic is disrespecting the ways Giants can start fights. That was packaged from Knight. Shen had ulti, and they decided to push with 3 members in mid lane all the way to tier 2 tower. Caps wasn't nearby. Source didn't have teleport, he was walking to try and join the team. Really easy engage from Giants, and a great response obviously, but also Fnatic making some of these weird calls we saw last week as well. They're clearly not yet at that point where we can call them like a fantastic macro team, because they make some of these mistakes.
And for the second time in like 4 minutes, Fnatic make a play which Giants end up coming away in a better position for. You know, down a few minutes ago in that bottom lane, so as TP'd for a gank. Didn't work out. Amazing's able to steal a blue buff away, so it's another camp that goes his way. But here's a replay. Look at the minimap.
Caps is in the bottom lane, Source is in the top lane without TP. Why are you sieging on this turret? Package, Shen ulti. Like, if any of the players were here and we asked them to be like, yeah, we would never do that. Like, never, never, never. But in-game, some of these calls, you know, it can get a little bit confusing, but it's just the kind of mistakes you can't really make, because you get punished.
Absolutely cannot afford to make them. All right, Giants, they're still behind, okay? We've gone past 20 minutes, but they're winning team fights. They're punishing mistakes by Fnatic, which is how Giants won game number 1. And now there's a Trinity Force. There's a QSS for HQ.
Exactly, and again,
Team for Flaxish, like they're scaling.
You mentioned Fnatic running out of damage. We talked about the Hexdringers, QSS coming in. We're going to get more of these items with a lot of MR. That's going to stop both Jesses and Caps from being able to one-shot people. And then it's all about Reckless and his damage. But he's going to be busy dealing with a Shen right in front of him. So ideally for Giants, they have this kind of setup where the long-range AP mages from Fnatic can't one-shot the carries. And Reckless is too busy trying to deal with Shen to actually also hit the carries. But obviously Jhin has fantastic long range. It's one of the very valuable things about him. And in these long lanes, Jhin can just charge up ulti and hit some of these targets without any armor and actually take them down.
Yeah, play it nice and safe and allow the frontliners to overextend, as it were. Deficio, Dragon number 2 here started. It is a Cloud Drake. It should go the way of Fnatic very easily. But every time I look at the minimap, it just feels like Fnatic have done a pretty good job with warding. They oftentimes have vision inside Giants jungle. They often are pushing forward. Memento's starting to clear this out.
Yeah, we are there pointing him a hot lane.
He's dead. That hurts. Double flashes to pick up the kill though, so what more can Fnatic get?
It's always a shame to see a support try and kind of wander on his own to get some super risky ward placed. always be with your carries and push out lanes first and then go in and clear vision. Otherwise, don't move.
Stun onto...
Oh, he missed it. Oh, he hit it,
Captain's in
actually.
trouble. Exhaust locks him down. Stand United is used, but Chain of Corruption, that's the power of CC.
And this will keep happening. Fnatic don't really have a way to stop HQ from hitting some of these ultis when they're trying to siege. Fnatic wants to team fight, not siege on turrets right now. It's just very hard for him to set it up. Jess is taking damage.
A lot of damage indeed. Uses the exhaust onto Memento. Curtain call comes out. Shot number 1 and 2 connects. Third goes wide. So does number 4. Need better accuracy than 25% if you want to get the kills. Giants 6 kills to 4, but still no towers.
Slowly grinding towards the turrets, very slowly.
It's just standing gold, isn't it? Because
it is.
at some point, Giants will be able to get a tower.
But will that be too late? Like, you kind of need that gold now because it's always in the early and mid game where gold is super valuable.
Do you think it's fair to say, do they need it now? When Giants, they're being gifted kills.
They are, that's fair, that's fair. But like, if Giants suddenly pick up, let's say, 2 of these turrets, they get that much closer to actually get further towards some of these defensive items they need to survive the all-in from Fnatic. Would have loved Memento to just get that Hexstring already. I think it would have so much value for him on Graves. Because really, like, he's gonna dash in and Jessens is gonna ult him.
Yes.
And then he's gonna die.
And he doesn't have exhaust, nor does Flaxis. She's likely gonna be Stand United-ing.
But we just have to remember that Giants have Lulu. So single target burst is not as effective because you have Lulu shield and Lulu ulti. Yes, it's not enough to just block both of these guys, but if it's only one hitting, like a Caps or a Jessis, then Lulu will save whatever target they're hitting.
Look at the damage to champions this game. Reckless Jhin, despite being so well farmed and having 1,000 gold advantage over HQ, not finding damage to champions with the ultimate yet. Not finding the targets. Knights actually uses the special delivery, maybe a tad aggressively, but it doesn't end up coming to hurt him.
And obviously for Memento, he was in that situation where there were 2 items he really wanted, Hexstring one, and then Black Cleaver the other one. You can double tank, you have multiple members on your side with some physical damage in there, and then shredding some armor is extremely effective for everyone, so I can't blame him because of that. But should be a very clear second item or third item then coming in for him. And this Graves actually will be very, very effective because he can itemize so effective in a game like this.
Against a composition like Fnatic's. Gonna work out in their favor. All right, tanks getting tankier. Sunfire Cape and Spirit Visage for both Flaxis and Soaz. Oh, they've also got Ninja Tabite. So a lot of armor and MR to work with. Deadly Flourish. At least locks down HQ, but there's no follow-up. And Fnatic have initiated the tango. Sorry, the Baron dance. We're on, Deficio. It's about vision, and then eventually a 50-50,
Yeah.
and the disappointed dad will be unleashed on the world.
It's 5 minutes of fighting over vision and then screw it, I don't care anyway, let's do the Baron. Oh, fight for blue buff, Trevor.
All right, who got it? Was it amazing with the
That was a 50-50
smite?
blue buff.
Yeah,
It was
amazing.
amazing at smite. But
Yeah,
anyway.
amazing snuck it away. 100-0 smite. Memento wasn't there.
It is also very hard against Corgi Varus to like push for these turrets here. There's a TP.
EQ's been tagged, already used the QSS. Stun falls short of hustling, but the Nethergraph doesn't. Caps gets the kill with the unleashed power. Soaz stuck in the back line, taunted up. The Maelstrom's not available. Here comes Amazing. Flash and Burrow onto EQ. Knight gets tagged by the Flourish. Now they're split. EQ and Knight continue to poke. Amazing tagged up by Memento and Flaxish. A lot of damage.
he actually hit him.
The damage
Oh,
comes down, and it's Amazing that goes down.
Amazing is
1
dead.
for 1.
1 for 1. I'm just about to say how hard it is against like Varus and Corki to actually push further in towards T2 turrets because of the wave clear they offer, and they can poke you if you start Baron from behind the Baron wall, obviously. So what you needed to do was that TP flank that Soaz just set up. Sadly, the rest of Fnatic, after actually getting that 1 kill, couldn't really follow up further. Amazing went a little bit too deep into the back line, and we talked about all these 80 carries standing there, and if they get enough time, they will shred through these tanks. And Amazing goes down and used Flash, which is very important for the next team fight.
We're approaching 30 minutes. That 3,000 gold is becoming less significant. Memento,
They still got them
2-1.
towers.
Yeah, 2-1 and 4 for Memento. Black Cleaver, he's got himself another attack speed dagger, continuing to scale and be even more of a menace in Fnatic's side.
And to add more time here for Giants. They cleared all the control wards. This is the way where you can engage with Jhin. If you had listened earlier, Trevor.
Tag onto Hiku. Chain of Corruption completely shuts down the engage, and Fnatic find nobody else.
And we're back to wave clearing with Varus, Corki, landing poke over the barrel. Actually, they're trying to fight.
Teleport for Flaxa. She instantly gets interrupted by the Unburrow. So as somewhat cut off from the team. It's Reckless that's going to sidestep. Jumps out the grenade, and Amazing and Jez is kind of split. Flaxish, there's a flash available. Looking for a taunt, holding onto it. Scatter the Weak finds nobody else, and a bit of a wasted teleport from Flaxish.
Yeah, both teams trying to force plays here quite a lot. Giants definitely feeling more confident now, being able to push out the mid lane for the first time quite a while. Fnatic, I think starting with Jhin is the correct choice. You load up his ulti, you land the first shot to slow someone down, and then you catch that target. But now they're sieging here from the Giant side.
No stun, but the Nethergrass locks down Flashish. Wild Growth has come up. He gets a taunt onto Reckless for a second before he gets shut down. The tower's being focused. That's a good stun from Caps. Hustlin is the target. He gets shut down by the unleashed power. Soaz can engage. Ultimate still available to block any further damage. The curtain is called, and Hiku, you are done. 2-3 kills for Fnatic.
The first time Giants feel confident they can actually push mid lane and get some pressure on tower. They go way too aggressive and dive behind the turret with Flagshish. He just gets ultied, obviously, and Lulu will not save you then. If you're diving between two towers and get hit by everything, Memento has Smite. He can dash the wall. Oh, trying to get Caps low enough to actually kill him with the Baron.
Here comes Knight. Special deliveries available as well. Soaz is locking down Memento. Memento's going to die. Turn their attention over to Knight. Amazing. Sends out a Prey Seeker. Knight's trying to cut down Maokai, and it won't happen. Baron to Fnatic. This game, Deficio, has been defined by teams being punished for their decisions.
Yeah.
And look at this. Giants decide to go in, and it's
kind of how League of Legends work, but like this is just way too aggressive. So what he's trying to do is like zone the rest of Fnatic away from tower, but he obviously just get ultied by Malzahar instantly, and then it's too late. He can't really get out now. He was actually not trying to fight. He was just trying to force them away so they could take the tower. Just when it ends up being like way too aggressive, and when the team can't follow, it doesn't matter if you're a tank.
For a second look, I don't even think Flaxish got the taunt onto Reckless that fight. I thought he did first time round. Wouldn't have really made a big difference.
No, he's dead anyway. And that is huge because
way too deep, way too eager.
Giants have been able to avoid losing fights to Fnatic. They've been buying time. We talked about the Varus, the Corki, wave clear, being able to poke from purple side over the Baron wall, make it very difficult for Fnatic to actually close out this game. And then when Giants finally get a chance to actually do something, they mess it up completely.
Yeah, make that mistake indeed.
Feels bad, man.
It does if you're a Giants fan. And at 31 minutes in, Fnatic get themselves a juicy dragon, one that even Deficio appreciates. The Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Plus the Baron buff.
Especially when you get a Baron buff and you start pushing turrets.
Also, important to note, Soaz has got his hands on that ZZ Rot Deficio. He placed it in the top tri-bush, and it has already been killed by Flaxish. I want to continue to review if the ZZ Rots are good or bad.
Well, now that you're pushing in for turrets, you can definitely use it. There's a lot of damage on these towers here if you can finally actually hit it. But that is obviously one of the changes. The Voidlings die so quickly now from it. So if you place it too far away, they just don't even reach the tower, or sometimes don't even reach the minion wave in time. So as we talked about earlier, it's less effective for actually like pure split pushing or minion control. But it is better when it gets to the turret.
So, sieging and taking down towers.
Yeah, it is a pure sieging item in that sense.
Well, that's exactly what Fnatic want to do, Deficio. That's how they want to close the game out.
And it also, of course, adds pretty good like armor and MR. So.
Yeah, decent tanky stats.
Yeah.
Giants still have not taken a single tower.
Yeah, you
That's
talked about how,
to
you know, it didn't really matter because they would get them later, right? Right?
I mean, still later. There's still a possibility.
There is time. But
there is always later if your Nexus stands.
That's true.
There we go. Put that in black and white.
True.
Caster quotes.
It's just, I mean, honestly, we can't even feel bad for them because they had the chance to take that tower.
But decided to, you know, throw instead.
They've just been sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting for that one moment. They step on the stage,
go!
They step up there, and they just they fall face first.
There we go. Tower number one. Standing gold. Later is now.
And they can still get items, so it's still worth it. What a sick play.
Oh, it's
Did you
not
see
going to be
that?
enough,
Did
though.
you
I mean,
see
it's Deficio. It's 9,000 gold. Elder Dragon's coming up next. Look at the ZZ Rot placement. This is going to be the theme of our cast today. Not good, this one.
Well, no, because it still gives you the push, so it's still good. It's just not the optimal way to use the actual situation. You can see how the minions die before the reach, but then Giants will push the wave back, so the minions will get close enough, like here, and then they will actually start pushing back in favor of Fnatic. So it still works, definitely. Just was even better before we actually changed it.
All right. It would have been more powerful in a previous patch.
Definitely. That's why a lot of top laners just get a GA instead.
Yeah.
So your team fighting is much stronger instead of getting a bit more side lane push.
Well, in the fights that Soaz has been a part of, his team fighting has been pretty good. 1, 1, and 2. Definitely doing a good job. His opposite number, gone for that Titanic Hydra. Memento got himself that Phantom Dancer. Second item, third item rather. So still more damage scaling, but the problem for Giants, there's no room for error. They're too far behind to make any more mistakes.
But if you're Fnatic, it is still difficult to push into the base here of Giants, because we talked about their wave clear, and if you are like the Jhin or the Syndra, there's obviously no QSS. There's no way to actually get out of like a Varus ulti right now. So if you're trying to hit the tower and he hits it, suddenly you lose that fight very, very quickly.
And that's happened a few times already this game. Fnatic overstepping their bounds. But to go all the way back to picks and bans, it was a lot more standard team composition. It wasn't a hard counter in the top lane, which is what you wanted to see Deficio, but the tank has worked out.
I mean, I still think, so as I said there as well, like Marquardt is still very fine, very good here, because he outscales the Shen, and then he can just go even early game, so it is still very, very good. Just not as flashy as that champion I will not name anymore, because you don't want to hear it.
Thank you. I'll wait till picks and bans for game 3.
We're not going to see it, man.
What do you think of Reckless's Jhin? You know, 317 CS to 270, got on the eye edge. You know, the damage he's dealt this game, obviously not as high as EQ, but to be expected.
This has not been the greatest Jhin game we've ever seen, for sure. I don't want to put too much blame on him for saying why didn't Fnatic finish yet, but...
Worth so many bans? Not this game.
Judging from this game purely, no, but I think there's been a lot of other games where he has showed up big time on Jhin. Also, didn't have that many opportunities, but there's been a few where some ultis have missed here and there, and I guess that's technically what we can actually grade him on. Look at that, look at that. And then loses HP really quickly.
You got a hit!
Value.
Yeah.
Right there.
So he's coming to push it in as well.
I know, it's good.
All right.
Now he has GA as well, so now we have...
Okay, so GA and ZZ Rot. Now we can approve. Deficio approved itemization. Deficio, Fnatic didn't do... They didn't win the game on Baron number 1, but they got 1, 2, I think 3 towers with it. They've extended that ward line.
They're waiting for next Baron, Trevor. Is that if it's what you're trying to, you know, get to here? They're waiting for next Baron.
No mistakes. Don't throw the game.
Set up the same vision and create a pick where you TP flank in with the Maokai, and then bam, open the base.
All right, bam, open the base. That's simple. 30 seconds to Baron, 30 seconds to Elder Dragon. Vision on both for Fnatic. GA picked up by Amazing as well, so 7 lives Giants have to get through and somehow fight back from 10,000 gold. But realistically, this game has been about Fnatic. You know, the advantages that Giants had accrued was because of Fnatic being over-eager and some Fnatic mistakes.
That's fair. It's funny how last game was like all about Giants, and they got a big advantage early, and Fnatic did the same in this one here. Memento and Graves not able to have the same early game impact. Obviously just wanted to farm and be super strong in these fights.
I mean, that is a lot to do with the champion as well, isn't it? The opportunities available to a Graves versus a Kha'Zix.
And we see why Fnatic wanted this first pick Malzahar, because as soon as they had ulti on him, they just went bot lane. With Amazing twice, picked up 2 kills, took a bot lane tower, and used that to kind of get the advantage and get down other outer turrets. So it's just a very standard way to snowball from the Malzahar. And it's always very effective when it's the bot lane that gets ahead and gets a tower, because then you move 2 members around the map, and not just one if it's a solo laner getting that advantage. And you move the support who adds wards, and you can start placing them even deeper, so you get him out of the lane, and he gets impact instantly.
And to go back to our storyline from game 1, like Hiku and Hustling giving out early game towers and first tower blood is something we've seen a few times already.
Well, this one, and to be fair, they were also
this was ganks, of course, there's no doubts about that. But if you are in a position where you play against Giants, you know, targeting a lane that is susceptible is a way to win. Soaz is still sitting in base, all right? Our observers highlighted that a moment ago. Teleport is available, and there is wards to play with. Giants, they're going Elder Dragon, while Fnatic go Baron.
Oh, I mean, they have a lot of damage to take it down, but I'm not sure if they can do it fast enough. This is a very, very risky call from Giants, and Soaz is joining with teleport.
Soaz is cutting off Giants from behind. Flaxish uses that stand united. Soaz needs to get over the wall. He's been locked down. Chain of Corruption already used.
But they're pushing mid lane. Fnatic right now just want that inhib, because all they care about is breaking into the base. They don't care about all this fighting anymore. They just want to get down a turret.
Well, they got the turret, not the inhib. Giants have been able to position themselves in a defensive location. The inhibitor stands. Flaxish had to teleport to potentially stop any further pressure, and now Fnatic, they want it all. Peel backwards, got a line of control wards, and the Elder Dragon is their targets.
Yeah, very, very easy setup for Fnatic to fall with the Baron. When you push the team all the way to their own inhib, you can just move in and take it. Minions in the bottom lane trying to do some work, but sadly for them, they are pretty useless.
Yeah, get a lot of damage onto that tower before Soaz arrives. Just that Arcane smash down to clear out the way. Giants still sitting on that lonely one tower.
You like to talk about them.
I do.
They're not gonna get more, Trevor.
Yeah, but Tefisho, it's about what it means. Giants for 25 minutes have played defensive, and they've not been able to set anything up because their team comp, they have to throw everything at Fnatic to start a fight. You know, Chain of Corruption, Stand United, taunts.
It worked in the mid game a few times, and then when they finally had the upper hand, they messed up at that mid tower. That's why it's still alive at this point. That's why Fnatic got the first Baron, actually, and it kind of dictated the rest of the game. So Fnatic are looking to get these last few turrets down, get the inhibs, and then just have the super minions spawning in. Giants will still try their hardest to wave clear forever, which is always one of the sad things about these pure wave clear comps. Is it's so hard to finish the game. So often games get like much longer because you just can't break into the base.
No, you cannot. And Soaz is not making it shorter. He placed his easy rot in the bottom tribush with 40 minutes into the game. And Fnatic trying to siege this middle inhibitor. Reckless gets chunked out by that collateral damage, as well as a lot of poke from Hiku. Redemption used just to heal up Fnatic as they take the inhibitor uncontested here. Giants, they can't get through the minions, they can't get through the champions. They need to wait for at least some of those buffs to wear off. And the Elder Dragon, it should be wearing off relatively soon. It won't be too much longer. And Fnatic now groups up. 5-man stack on the bottom lane. Curtain call to zone away Giants with that soft engage we talked about oh so long ago. Chain of Corruption is spreading, but it doesn't matter. Flaxish is already killed. Inhibitor number 2 falls like a hot knife through butter. And Fnatic turn their attention to the Nexus turrets. We will get ourselves a game 3. Fnatic in a 5-on-4. Take down Nexus turret number 1. Lock down Memento. He's rooted by the flourish. And the captive audience helps send him packing. A stunner tonight from the back line. And Fnatic, they jump down. They kill Giants. They kill the Nexus. We're going to game 3.
Slow and steady. Trevor, we can't blame Fnatic for that one. It is very difficult to finish games against heavy wave clear. They got the 2 Barons. They used the second one to actually close out the game here. And yeah, game 3, as you said earlier, much easier comp for Fnatic to play, where they weren't on a clock. It wasn't like, yeah, you now need to win lane so the game is over. The Maokai pick, obviously, scales fantastic. Caps had some good engagements as well. Good engagements, good kills.
It was a good game for Fnatic overall. I think they made some oversteps, obviously, which we can criticize. But for the most part, they won the game relatively clean. Important to note and to remind everybody that in terms of side selection, it now bounces back to Giants. Throughout the course of the split, teams will get to choose sides on games 1 and 3 or on games 2. And that will alternate as the split goes on. So for Giants, we anticipate another blue side.
Yeah, because
it is what they picked in game 1.
Whenever a team has actually picked red side, they've gone for like, oh, let's leave Rengar open or let's leave Camille open. Most teams are now just, again, saying, let's just keep it standard.
Yes.
And that's when you then pick blue side, so you don't have to ban them.
Yeah, give yourselves the option to target ban if you're on blue side. Anyways, Fnatic and Giants, they are tied at 1 game apiece. Let's send it to the analyst list. And you guys take it away.
Hey,
That almost never happens to Trevor.
It's
so
a
we're
desk
calling it
where we do analysis. Trevor, analyst desk.
Analysis desk. Yeah,
Analyst
okay.
desk?
Yeah, all right. Game 3 on our hands. Fnatic pulling it back 1-1 now in this series, and I want to talk a lot about tempo of this game. This is actually a buzzword that we used to use a lot, but it applies very well to this game. I want to start early. Now you saw action out of Fnatic early, out of the bottom lane specifically. Malzahar pulled the trigger and got a decent advantage.
I think the biggest change here, what we see is that Fnatic is going for what we call kind of like 80% place. If you look at the setup here, we can roll the clip at this point. It's just that they're just so secure in what they're doing here. Hustlin, he's just constantly getting picked off left and right all the time. He got picked off earlier in lane 2, and they have the supplementation with the vision. Fnatic is playing the map well. And they're just snowballing for secure plays that they can see coming. And I think that's the biggest difference compared to game 1.
And that's a lot of the things. You know, you look at the Lulu pick. We saw it out of the Unicorns last week against the Malzahar. Does very well at stopping some of the harassment of Voidlings. Not so great if you're the one getting ulted. You can't ult yourself in response to it particularly easily. So there are still some weaknesses that were exploited in that bot lane. Fnatic flashing forward, getting the engage whenever they could. And as long as they get one kill in the tower push at that point, it's already in their favor, and there's very little Giants could react with.
They couldn't. They did very well on Fnatic, but then as we talk about tempo, they had a point where they could push through, but they weren't able to accelerate the game fast enough because of Giant, as we pointed out in game 1, do have some good moves. This is...
and we're at the Nexus.
Whoa,
That's how fast that game went, actually, in our heads. Straight. No, the point where we're going to show you guys an engage, basically, from a Corki package. Oh, here we go. Yeah. It's still there. It basically indicates that Giants, they're basically doing what Vitality didn't. They just pull the trigger. They try and make a pick. And on the side of Fnatic is they're not accounting for some of these very obvious counters that Giants is still scrapping together, because you get a global audio indication when somebody picks up the package. That's when you know, like, perhaps this guy will kind of run it down the mid lane and jump in and Valkyrie out. So this was avoidable. But at the same time, Giants, they're always fighting back, and I like that. There's a lot of cohesion from this unit, despite being a very new team.
Just getting it through, Giants have selected blue side for this game. As I was about to say again, that Hiku hit another Varus ult on somebody that had flash. Shouldn't be happening. Should not be happening, but hey, you can take it one way. Hiku hitting great Varus ults. Jez is not flashing.
Yeah, Jez is definitely under pressure, but he performed better this game. I think he had a couple of good flash ultis. There was synergy with Caps as well in terms of target selection. Maybe you can then argue one of them shouldn't flash in for the double kill, like use all the abilities right there. But at the same time, though, Fnatic was much more organized. It didn't feel kind of random where Amazing was pathing. They were playing with a goal. Most of the pressure went to bot lane first, which is pretty meta overall. I love their composition. Maybe a bit too many tanks, but overall I was definitely impressed by Fnatic.
Slowed down a bit, but probably they didn't want to make the same mistakes again and risk losing that game.
Yeah, and I think Deficio hit it fairly well. One of the things that the Lulu does offer as well, alongside the Varus, the Graves, the Corki, wave clear. When you've got those kind of tanks, unless you're diving heavily, you can't really step up to the tower consistently time and time again. So, Giants slowed Fnatic, but ultimately Fnatic didn't look too far off winning that game.
Yeah, and then looking to the next game, it's 1-1 in the series right now. I think it can go either way, which in itself is already a surprise coming into not only the split, but even just today. Like Fnatic, they look strong, but they lost last week. Giants, they're still looking for their footing. We ranked them pretty much below them, but we have to give them credit where credit's due. They're showing up today, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if, especially Memento and Flaxis working together, can take a game off Fnatic.
If we look at the bigger scope of the entire split, this might prove to be a very, very important moment, because we're looking at a Fnatic squad who is adamant on making a statement here in this split, but if they lose a game like this or a series like this versus Giants, that starts off with a very false note they have to push against. And on the other side, the Giants, if they take this momentum, they shut a lot of people up, and they definitely give themselves a lot of confidence.
And it throws the group into turmoil. We've got other, anticipated results from this. If Giants pick up a win here, and if Misfits can upset G2, suddenly Group A kind of flips upside down. The only real certainty so far is that Roccat haven't been getting off the starting block. So if everybody's taking a series here and there every week, suddenly it's not so clear as G2 being right at the top with Fnatic underneath them.
And because you guys are analysts, I can put you on the spot. Who's going to win game 3?
Oh, Fnatic's going to win.
Fnatic.
All right, well, that wasn't hard at all. When we come back, game 3 between Fnatic and Giants will get underway rather, but you should stay tuned.